Good day! Our topic for today is all about the physical environment and population in an ecosystem. The various portions of the ecosystem interact with each other. Changes to one part are impacting other parts. When all the individuals of the same species die, the place of that species in the area is lost forever. This is due to the limiting factors present in the environment. We have what we call a limiting factor. It is a resource or environmental condition which limits the growth, distribution, or abundance of organisms within an ecosystem. Meaning to say, it is anything that constrains a population size and slows or stops it from growing. Or, it is usually expressed as a lack of a particular resource. Consider this example of a limiting factor. It is a female cottontail rabbit which can give birth as often as 7 times a year. So why are the meadows and forests of the eastern United States not literally hopping with the rabbits and toads? In nature, the size of a population and the rate of population growth are influenced by what ecologists call limiting factors. Limiting factors are usually expressed as a lack of a particular resource. For example, if there are not enough prey animals in a forest to feed a large population of predators, then food becomes a limiting factor. Likewise, if there is not enough space in a pond for a large number of fish, then space becomes a limiting factor. There can be many different limiting factors at work in a single habitat, and the same limiting factors can affect the populations of both plants and animal species. Now, there are two kinds of limiting factors. One is what we call as abiotic limiting factors, or what we call as living things. Example, food, mate, competition with other organisms for resources. The other one is what we call as the abiotic limiting factors, or what we call as the non-living things. Example, space, temperature, shelter, altitude, and the amount of sunlight available in an environment. We have what we call a carrying capacity. It refers to the maximum size of the population it can support. If an organism, a group, or a population does not have enough resources to sustain it, individuals will die through starvation, or they will fail to produce an offspring. Now, does it affect the biodiversity in an ecosystem? Based on the picture, yes. When we say biodiversity, it comes from the word biological diversity. It refers to the variety of life on Earth at all its levels, from genes to ecosystems, and can encompass the evolutionary, ecological, and cultural processes that sustain life. Biodiversity includes not only species we consider rare, threatened, or endangered, but also every living thing, from humans to organisms we know little about, such as microbes, fungi, and invertebrates. Look at the picture shown. Figure 1, which is the banana plantations, Figure 2, which is the Tubataha Reef. Which of the following figures represent an ecosystem with high biodiversity? The answer is Tubataha Reef. What made you say that it has high biodiversity? What are the different species of organisms present? How does an abiotic factor like water help the organism in that ecosystem? Which figure represents low biodiversity? The answer is banana plantation. How can you tell that it has a low biodiversity? What species dominates in the area? What will happen to the population of organisms if a certain plant disease will strike. Is high biodiversity more advantageous than low biodiversity? What are the various threats that are considered causes of the loss of biodiversity? Based on what you have discussed during grade 8, population refers to the number of organisms of the same species living in a certain area. Groups of different populations consist of a community. When we say high biodiversity, it refers to communities with many different species, and it will be able to withstand environmental changes better than communities with only a few species, which is low biodiversity. An increase in biodiversity also increases the adaptability of the ecosystem to changing environmental conditions. Look at the figure. It's a variety of fish in the ocean, thus increasing the population density or the number of individuals in an area. This means that high biodiversity also increases the survival of organisms in an ecosystem. There are many factors that affect the loss of biodiversity. One is habitat destruction, overexploitation, environmental conditions like global warming and climate change, pollution, and competition due to limited resources. When the population of a species decreases rapidly, the species is considered threatened. A species is considered endangered when its population is very low. Extinction occurs when the last members of that species die. The following figures are considered endangered species in the Philippines. We have what we call coffee arabica, we have waling-waling, we have sardines or tawilis, we have Philippine crocodile, we have Philippine eagle, tarsier in Bohol, and the Philippine tamarao. If we let illegal activities keep happening and continue to harm Mother Nature, it's possible that we face lots of extinct species in the Philippines in the near future. So now that we still have a chance, let us protect the endangered, critically endangered, vulnerable, and threatened species in the Philippines. Here are some ways you can do. How to protect endangered species in the Philippines. Learn about endangered species in your area. Spread awareness. Recycle and buy sustainable products. Grow native plants instead of buying. Reduce your personal footprint. Drive less and commute if possible. Do not buy plastic products. Pressure the public servants. Volunteer to protect the wildlife. Don't purchase products from companies that are known polluters. Don't use herbicides and pesticides. Never purchase products made from threatened or endangered species. And lastly, protect wildlife habitat. If we lose biodiversity, we lose everything. Thank you for listening.